Bonito. 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 That's right, baby. You see that happy dance? That has not happened to me in a long time, and it hasn't stopped ever since Monday night when Bonito ran it back and gave me the sweet, sweet victory. Now, welcome everybody. Welcome back. I know it's been a while, since I've done a, Fantasy Blitz podcast, but I was waiting for the right moment. And before any of you say, "Oh, he only does his podcast when he wins," guess what? Going into Monday night, as I was hanging up the phone with David, he said, "You're not going to make a podcast, huh? You only make a podcast when you win." And I said, I'll make one. That was before any of that happened. But I got to tell you, it feels good. It feels good to win. And, I feel like there's only one word that really encapsulates the feeling that I have in my heart right now. And that's joy. That's how I'm feeling. And I'm happy to say that, although I've only felt this feeling 7 times this year, it's 6 more than you, Antonio Pierce. Huh? And I gotta tell you, to steal the victory from you the way I did, I know it has to hurt. And for that, I'm sorry. But for walking away with a victory, a hard-earned victory once again, in a week, in a time when everybody just wanted me to go down, I'll take it. I'll take it 100 times out of 100 times. All right, Alexa, go ahead and put yourself at number 2 volume, please. But, as much as I'd like to make this podcast all about me, I'm going to be fair, and I'm going to make it about the league, and let's take a look at what we're looking at here. And it's turned out to be, outside of the first place team, I got to give props where props are due. Get off my dicka, 12-1. Team. The rest of us have been, with the exception of the bottom 2, have been in quite the battle. And as the playoffs approach, we have Gamer Seth at 8-5, suffering a loss for the first time in a bit last week. We have myself at 7-6, coming in 3rd place. I'm coming daddy, Jack at 7-6, and Dan also at 7-6 on a 3-game win streak. And then in 6th place, also making the playoffs at 7-6. And I'm sure you guys checked, but the playoff is decided as far as who's going to be there. The seeding, well, that's going to come down to this last week. As we look at the matchups, I'm matched up against Terminator, right now projected to win 78 to 22%. And I got to tell you the truth, some people don't plan ahead, and it shows. So, for example, this guy I'm looking at right here, Ortiz, and he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 people on his starting roster on a bye. Now, I don't want to do you any favors, but, it doesn't seem like you can do a whole lot more because you also have, 5, 6, 7, altogether about 7 or 8 in general. So you really don't have a lot to work with. Word to the wise, take a look at who you're picking up on the waiver wires, especially if they're on injured reserved. You picked up, Jordan Mason. It doesn't look like he's going to play. Maybe you're seeing a little bit further down the line. But if I were you, I wouldn't look past me. Okay? And that's just free advice from a commissioner that's better than you. And I'm not being full of myself. I'm just telling you the truth. So, we'll see how it goes. If in fact, or I should say when in fact I win this week, I will move into a record of 8-6. And thanks to the tremendous amount of points that I've scored, that should put me solid there in 2nd place. Because Gamer Seth, I don't see you beating Christian this week. Even though Christian's only had 3 wins. This week does not look like a very favorable matchup for you. You got your Bengals, and everyone knows that you pretty much hedge your bets on the Bengals this year. I know you heard me with them. You heard a couple other people with them. The Bengals offense has been lights out. It's just if they only had a defense, it may be a different story. But, got to give, congratulations where congratulations are due. because Seth, you've performed better than you did last year, and we can't really say that about all the teams involved in this year's contest. Christian, I don't know what to say. 3-10. You are coming off, a week where, you put up a good fight, and at the end of the day, it just wasn't in the cards for you. It's a little bit hard to say that you were in it all the way, but you lost by almost 100 points. As I think about last week and what just happened, I gotta say, you're seeing some things going on with some teams. For example, Jack. Look, you can't knock a guy for having the right defense in the right time in the right night. David. So I say this because I keep hearing you say, it's going to take that. No, if a player has the genius in him to put in the correct defense, and I mean, what are we talking about here? We're talking about a defense that scored 191 points. I will go out on a limb and say it right now. That will never happen again. And what if Jack had Bonito, which he dropped and I picked up? I mean, you can add an additional 115 points to that, and then it would have made the weekly scoring record unattainable as well. I think next year we're going to have a prize for top scorer, and I think that we might have in general with their team, but we'll also have a prize for if you have a player that scored more points than anyone else. But as we look forward, because we have to look forward in this fantasy blitz. Look, we all know before you discount amazing run backs and the points that come with it, we all know that's the name of the game. That's what sets this league apart, is that you're never out of it. And on the same token, you can be ahead by 150, 200 points, and you don't have anything in the bag. And that's not a coincidence. That's not just circumstance. That was planned as a probability, tweaked in the points before the season starts. Once again, retweaked before every season starts. Why? Because we like to keep it exciting. We like to keep it interesting. We like to keep it red hot here in the Blitz Fantasy League that we have here. As I look at another matchup this coming week, get off my Ditka, projected to only by 10 points, but projected to beat Dan's team. Dan, you need to win. Now, a lot of us are looking at this and saying, what does it matter? Everyone makes the playoffs, even the bottom two players. They kind of make the toilet bowl. They kind of make the playoffs because they're playing for something, and it's true. But I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have the correct seating. You have those 1 and 2 spots that have a bye. That matters. And again, if Jonathan and Christian want to tune out right now since it doesn't apply to you, I totally understand. Although I do hope you stay because you might be learning something that you can use in a year or two. But for the rest of us, I think it's there's no tanking. Because, you could be, setting yourself for failure, because I've seen it happen. I've seen players that have tried to manipulate the week or whether they win or not, Tommy, in a way where they think they're positioning themselves for an easier win the next week, only to lose in that very week. And to that, I have no sympathies. I think that as we look at the playoffs coming up, and again, I don't want to look ahead of this week, but as we look at the playoffs, how they're shaping up, look, it looks like it's going to be, without question, David's going to have the first round bye. Right now, it looks like Seth, it has a number 2 spot, but Seth, you don't have the points. You don't have, how would I say it? Eddie George used to say to Ray Lewis, you're too skinny in the ass, meaning that you don't have enough bang in your buck, so you better win this week, okay? Because if you don't have that bye, then I can say bye-bye to you, because it's going to take that in order for you to have any chance at going further into the playoffs. And that's just me being honest. I love you. I love your guitar playing. I love your mustache. As you can see, I'm copying you right away. I'm keeping it on. I love your karaoke singing. But at the same time, I don't love what you're doing in the league this year. You know, I remember you making a video once saying, "Oh, you spent too much time here." What are you talking about? I don't spend enough time, and I spend the most time. And that's the kind of dedication and devotion that it takes if you're going to go somewhere, if you're going to put your name on that trophy, which I fully intend to do. As we look into the playoffs, I think, the team that scares me, and if I have to be totally honest, the team that scares me is Jack. Jack's team scares me, and I'll tell you why. When I look at the stats in this league, I look at the points for, the points against, but I also look at the max total points that your team could have scored. When it comes to that, I see that the team that could have scored the max amount of points after David, because David's just killing it everywhere. I'm looking at Jack's team with 7,718. And, that's no small feat because that's more points than anyone else. And as we're looking at points, look, I know you were probably dreading this moment, David, but and you like to say that you would have only scored, you only have the least amount of points scored against you because you didn't play yourself. I think that doesn't even sound right. You don't play with yourself. Everybody knows. Okay, I won't go there. But look, the thing about the teams that are in contention and I'll throw Seth in there, even though he's 3 games over 500. Myself, Jack 7-6, Dan 7-6, Ortiz 7-6. New guy, playing for something here. Is that they're battle tested. These are teams that have been through all the rounds, that have not just been knocked down, but have gotten back up and gotten knocked down again and gotten back up. And that's the kind of resiliency and the kind of stripes and scars you're going to need on yourself in order to sustain the onslaught that will inevitably come in the playoffs. And if you had a cakewalk the entire season, I'm sorry to say this, but that's going to hurt you in the playoffs. It's just not the way football is designed. It's not for the weak of heart. And I think that when you're not used to having that back and forth, when you're not used to having that pull and that push back and forth and tug and that, you know what I mean. You can't just make it up. You can't just automatically have it because you're in the playoffs. And I think at the end of the day, the number one team right now, look, I'll give it to you. You won the regular season, okay? But you're in for a heartbreak. You're in for a heartbreak, and I want you to know that I don't know about the other guys in the league, but I will be there for you when that happens. As we move forward, I feel like it's important also to point out that, when I look at Ortiz's team and I look at the amount of weapons that he's been given, Josh Allen just recently picked them up through a trade. I also see liabilities. Now, I'll be dumb to tell you because I don't want you to know what I see, but there's a lot of holes in your lineup, especially as we approach the playoffs. So I think that we're in for a doozy as it pertains to the playoffs. And I was talking to David today, and I said, David, do you mind if we put my name next to yours? I'm thinking, my Kokamish, my brother in arms. And he insisted that the name would go under. Okay? So I was thinking of going like this, laterally in the trophy, and he wants to go under. I don't know how you guys feel about that. But, okay. It just gives me a little more ammo, a little more fuel in the tank when it comes to, when it comes to the playoffs approaching and the amount of wrath that I will instruct my players to play you with. I didn't want to do it like that. But when you tell me that you're incapable of putting me next to you because you want to put me under you, all bets are off. Okay? The gloves are off, however you want to look at it. So, I'm going to keep this short, only 15, 20 minutes here. I think that just by the way that some people have been making some moves in the waiver wire, I think that I have a pretty good feel on who's going to do what and who's going to go where in the playoffs. Very interesting matchups coming up. Jack, you kind of have a cakewalk this week playing Jonathan. Jonathan, I got to tell you, when we called you this Sunday and you were in the golf course, I knew I was going to win. I knew I was going to win. That's not where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be glued to the TV. And I understand you only have one win. But if I only had one win, and I would never know what that feels like, but if I only had one win, I would be desperate for that second win. And you almost had it. But, getting yourself on the golf course, especially when you should be behind your teammates in the locker room, you can expect the unexpected, which is exactly what happened Monday night. So there we have it. I think that, it's going to be a very interesting week. And this week, of all the weeks in the season, is really going to be the most important one. Seth, you have the most to lose. You're in second place right now. You better hold on to that win. Something tells me that Christian's coming in for that fourth win. And it's going to bump you at a second. And because I have the points that I have, tiebreakers will go to me. That's it. That's all I got. I mean, everybody knows, what it's been like this season. It's been a tremendously competitive season. That's, more than we could have asked for. When you look at the part of the standings that's not as competitive, so I'm talking about the number one team, David, you think, I'm just going to tell you, look, nobody's really giving you a challenge yet. Get ready for a challenge. Get ready for a challenge in the playoffs, okay? And then I look at the bottom and I just say, man, those two, Christian and Jonathan, just were never able to clean the funk off of them all season long. Christian, not for lack of trying, right? You tried, you made some trades, you got Tyreek Hill, you had Saquon Barkley for about 15 minutes, then you gave him to me. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, as do the Eagles. And then when you look at Jonathan, you look at stuff like Josh Downs still on your team. You look at guys like Isaiah Pacheco. You kept him. What's he going to give you? Nothing. The same thing anyone else that's coming off a broken leg is going to give you. You picked up Garendo and you spent $300 for him. Not good. Xavier Woods. That's a really good guy on your team. But outside of that, your quarterbacks, I'm just trying to give you advice for next year. Derek Carr, I mean, come on. You have an empty space on your running back. If it wasn't for Justin Fields, you really would have nothing with Russell Wilson. There's things to learn from all this, But again, like I've been saying, it's not easy to coach a franchise like the Raiders and then also still run a fantasy football team. That's all I'm going to say. Again, I'm very ecstatic to make this podcast. I know it's been a while. I apologize. But from this point forward, since the playoffs are coming up, I will be making a podcast regularly moving forward. And I still have some people who have not paid their fees. Unbelievable. So please send in your fees so that we can all get paid on time. And to hell with all of you. And I just want to make sure that you understand that if you're playing me, if you're matched up against me, it's going to be Bronco Country, Let's Ride, and Bonito is going to be there to make it all worthwhile. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.